Welcome to Safe Haven for Eve, where you can be, become, and boast. Be who you are, become your better self, and boast about it by sharing with the world. I'm Double R.
And I'm Nay. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And also, please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on all notification bells on our YouTube channel. We are Eve Haven on social media platforms. Let us know what you think by leaving comments, and we will see you next time. Enjoy today's episode.
Let's get right into it. So, Nay, as you know, I went out to lunch with my sisters yesterday. And so we were at a table, the three of us, just enjoying ourselves, having some good food, fried chicken, collard greens, black-eyed peas, the works, right? Macaroni and cheese, because it was a buffet. But in this buffet, the waitress will bring you yeast rolls. And they had great yeast rolls. Some that had a glaze on it and some were plain. And so when they brought us the yeast rolls, they brought a basket. Well, I say a basket. When I say a basket, I think there were 2 of each kind in this basket. But the yeast rolls in the baskets were flat and they were kind of doughy, like they were not really cooked through and through. So we said, okay, well, maybe that's just the way they cook them here. So a little later on, there came another family, and they sat at the table diagonally from us. And the same waitress brought them a basket of yeast rolls, but these yeast rolls were fluffy, and they looked marvelous. I was thinking, well, wow, those yeast rolls look so different from the yeast rolls that we have. Okay, all right. So maybe it's a different batch. So I beckoned the waitress.
Not Becky.
Yeah, beckoned. You know, like South Carolina.
You beckoned Becky?
Like Trio. Like I beckoned the waitress to come to the table, and she did. And I said, "Can we have some more yeast rolls? Some of those nice, fluffy, tall, brown yeast rolls." She said, okay, I'll be right back. So she came, she brought the yeast rolls. They still look the same. And I'm thinking, well, what is the difference between the yeast rolls that we got at this table and the yeast rolls that the family that's diagonally across from us got at their table? What's the difference? Now, I'm trying real hard not to say the obvious. And the obvious was the family that was seated next to us were of a different persuasion.
Oh.
A different color.
Oh.
So now I'm thinking it is 2,224. And we are still getting the same service. Now, I can say, well, we had a white waitress. Oh, no. This was not a white waitress. This was a waitress that looks just like me. Mm-hmm. So then I'm wondering, why is this still going on? And see what happens. I have heard that people are saying that black people, because I'm black, African American. You know, we've had so many names, sometimes you get confused. But anyhow, that we don't tip. And then my thing is, well, perhaps we don't tip because we get poor service. Now, some people might think yeast rolls, that's not a big thing. No. The roll themselves is not the big thing, but if you focus on the rolls, you're missing the whole point. The point is, we were customers. We paid just like that family who was seated beside us, but yet we got the flat, almost cooked rolls that you can just crumble in your hand. It was a ball of grease, so you know they weren't cooked good.
Right.
So, Nay, tell me what is going on. Now, I know you haven't had that experience being from New York.
Well, let me tell you what's going on. First of all, we are not in 2,220.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 2000.
First of all, we are in
2024. Oh, that's right. I missed the whole year.
Okay,
Oh, my God.
2025.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Still goes on. Right? At first, I would think the server were white or other than black. But I'm not surprised that you got substandard service by someone who looks exactly like you, because we buy into...
Why aren't you surprised?
I'm not surprised because we buy into black people don't tip, or I'm going to give them the substandard service because I revere white people more. And I want them to respect me more so they'll get the better yeast rolls. We do that to one another. I'm not surprised by that. It's the same as though when you go to a black-owned restaurant and they talk to you like they're your friend or a relative. Meanwhile, you're a hard-working, paying customer, and they don't give you the respect of a customer. They tell you, you're my man, hold on for a minute. But then if someone else walks in who does not look like you, who's of another race, particularly white, they'll say, I'll be right with you, ma'am. White women tend to be called lady. Black women tend to be called girl by black people. We say, oh, the black girl over there, the white lady over there. We say those things. So yeah, I'm not surprised that you got the greasy yeast rolls.
Well, honestly, I was kind of surprised. It's not that I don't experience with that kind of treatment and that kind of service in a restaurant, but I was hoping that we had moved beyond that, especially with people who look just like me. So we have bought into the same kinds of belief that have been shown over the internet, over the news media. We have bought into the same lie that black people are not worth as much as white people or people of different color. And that's very disturbing. As you said, let me correct my date now, let me get it right, as in 2025.
Yes.
And that is very disturbing. And another thing, after about 15 or 20 minutes, we were there for at least over an hour, and our waitress never checked back with us after the first 10 or 15 minutes. But did she check with the other table? Yes, because after the yeast roll incident, I started paying attention. And folks, that's what we have to start doing. We have to start paying attention, and we have to call a frog a frog. And if it's hopping around, it's a frog. And we have to start calling a frog and calling these things to people's attention, because sometimes it's unconscious.
Well, a while ago in New York, Double R made mention that I am from New York. A while ago, there was a group of black people. They wanted to go to this posh restaurant. I believe it was in the meatpacking district or in the Soho area in Lower Manhattan. And they waited to get into this restaurant. When they finally got into this posh, hip, highfalutin restaurant, let's say there were 10 people in their party, there were only 9 chairs. And instead of saying, where's the 10th chair? Because they wanted to be in this restaurant that was hip, it was the place to be. Because they wanted to be there, 2 people sat in 1 seat.
Wow.
And did not demand another seat at the table.
So that sounds like we don't have enough respect for ourselves.
And that's the point I'm making. This server did not have enough respect for herself or you guys who were in the party, because you all look the same, therefore that server did not have enough respect for herself to give you better service or at least equal service. She said these people over here who look nothing like her are better than. We don't think enough of ourselves. So those group of people at this New York City meatpacking district Soho restaurant did not think enough of themselves. They just wanted to be a part of this hip, hot, trending restaurant that two people would sit in one seat. And then you give your money for substandard.
For substandard. And then
we gotta know when to leave.
We gotta know when to leave. And we gotta make sure that we don't allow people to treat us like we're less than anyone else that they're providing service to.
Exactly.
And look, I have become a really good tipper. And just because I look like this, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to tip you. So you miss out on a really good tip because of poor service. And then you'll go out and say, well, those people didn't tip anything because they just don't tip. No, you provided poor service.
So when do we, because we have all been the victim of poor service. I'm inclined to not give you a tip, but myself, you, and others, we should now start the trend of telling the person why I didn't tip you or why your tip was so poor. Listen, server lady, I need to speak to you for a minute. You gave me substandard yeast rolls, not once but twice, and I saw the other people with the great yeast rolls. I'm not going to give you a tip based on the service you provided me. Or I will give you a partial tip because you were cordial and kind and responsive to my needs. Initially, but maybe you took a little too long. I pay based on the way you treat me.
Exactly. And
we
so
need to start doing that.
We need to start doing that.
Not doing it, but telling them.
Telling them, and if you don't feel comfortable telling them, write it on a napkin. I did that one time. I didn't do that the other day. But I wrote the tip on this is your tip.
Right.
Your service was poor.
Right.
So you get no tip from me because your service was just so poor.
Or maybe don't call it a tip. This is your lesson.
Yeah, lesson, tip, whatever. But either write it or say something because the time has come where people have to recognize people for their just humanity.
That's right.
Forget about the color. It's the humanity of each person. And stop drinking the Kool-Aid that this society have told all of us, no matter what color we are, that black people, especially black people, are at the bottom of the totem pole in everything, and they don't deserve what the white or the Hispanic or other nationalities deserve.
But think about it like this. There's this show that it's like a hidden boss type of a situation. And you come to the establishment and you don't know that the boss, the owner, is costume, a disguise of some kind. And that owner or boss, CEO, wants to see how the workers treat the customers. And when you go to this particular person who's in disguise, it's the boss, and you treat them unkind, that boss gets to see who you really are. But if you treat them kind, and if you give them respect, then that boss, that CEO knows exactly who you are, and they know you're doing the honorable thing, not just for yourself, the customer, but also for their business. So we need to start treating people like we're the boss.
Exactly. And I'll tell you a most recent example. Patrick Mahoney.
Mahomes, the football player?
Is it Mahoney or Mahomes?
Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. He went into a hotel to get a room, and they were very disrespectful.
They did not know he was Patrick Mahomes?
No.
The Super Bowl champion?
No, they did not know. He went and bought the hotel.
There you go.
And then he went back and fired them.
Good.
So you never know who you're talking to.
That's right.
Just because you look like me It doesn't mean that I'm not a person of means, and even if I have $0, I deserve the same respect as the richest man in the whole world. I deserve the same.
That happened to him because he got light skin privilege because he's half white.
Google it.
I believe it.
Yeah, Google it.
Surprised.
Yeah, Google it.
Because
but he is mixed.
Yeah, he is mixed.
Okay.
And I think maybe in some settings his blackness is more profound.
You know what they say?
But I'm just
what did they say about the blood?
I know.
Okay,
all right. Was he just white, blonde, white?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know whether he was what his wife, but that's the story. That's the story. Google it. That's the story. So we in 2025, we have got to do better as a society.
Yes.
With one another.
We do.
It's not even worth it. It's not worth the agony of another person going through that. If you are human, you've got to go home and think about those things.
Okay, but if you're the recipient of bad service, make sure you point it out to the person.
Absolutely.
But one caveat is do it after you get your meal.
So you won't be eating spit.
Yeah, you know any part of it.
So you won't be eating spit. Okay. Yes. All right. So better service, good service, equal service for all.
But you must demand it.
But you must demand it.
That's it. Thank you for coming and listening to our show today. Have a great day. See you next time.